Turn to your neighbor and tell him, give me 1 point that you've so far picked. Just one. So I give you 2 minutes. Just turn to your neighbor and ask them one thing that you've picked. Just one thing. Now, the other neighbor should be doing the update. I can see Kenneth is just listening. The next neighbor should be making the update of what you've learned. Awesome. Are you having fun? So we want to just put some icing on the cake. Some of the things that Pastor Rob has been speaking about, our father has spoken about. We want to see, do these things work? Are they really, is it a myth? Because I've had people tell me that, church is church and the marketplace is the marketplace. Leave church things in the church. So we want to see, are these biblical values working? So with me, I have a couple of friends. Jackie Opondo, good to see you. Jackie is one of our church members, our head of deacon team. Come on, welcome Jackie. So we also have Dr. Kenneth. Great to see you, one of the amazing leaders in our Total Church in Tinder, a great architect. Come on, let's welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. In the next few minutes, we are going to be just discussing some of these principles. So, guys, I want to start with you, Jackie. Just tell us about your career, your family. Are you married, and what is going on, and how have you been able to catch up with that career that you do have?
Sure. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here, and always an honor to honor the Lord. Yes. My name is Jacqueline Kobsinjo Opondo and married to Pastor Hannington Opondo. We are blessed with 3 children, and the youngest is 5 years old, Little Mercy. And I've been a member of this church since 1995. And it's been a great being part of this family, because I have grown, I have learned, I have walked the way our leaders have shown us, but also showing us how to walk with Christ. And so, good enough for the time when I got born again, I had started my career at URA as a junior officer. And when actually I told people that I was born again, they were like, how could you? We are giving you 2 months. But well, many years have passed. And they waited forever. And so I started, when I got born again, I was at URA serving. And then later I left in 1998 to join PwC, otherwise known as PricewaterhouseCoopers, as a tax consultant and manager. And then in 2005, there was a restructuring at URA, at that time following the Sebutinde Commission, and I was asked to lead the domestic taxes department as the commissioner then. I led that department for 3 years, and then after that I was moved to another department as the chief internal auditor of URA, which I led for 5 years. And so after that I retired, or for that matter, refired. So right now I've been doing leadership training and tax training and tax advisory, but the main focus and my sphere is government, because I believe that we need to see transformational leaders in government, transforming one leader at a time.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much. Yes, Doctor, tell us a bit about who you are, your family, and how your career life has been.
Yes, I'm Kenneth. The second name is Semogere, quite a sum of numbers. I'm an architect, and when some time ago somebody came to stay near me, and when they had me being called doctor, I said, I'm very lucky I'm going to be near a doctor. When I get sick, I'll cross over and I'm going to be helped. Then I said, oh, sorry, I know nothing about medicine. Anyway, I'm an architect. I practice with my firm called Sasa Architects. I stay in Lusanja. I'm married to Jessica. We have 4 kids, 1 girl and 3 boys. We are very proud that we went to Gayaza very recently. Such a new experience altogether. Anyway, and I teach at Makerere. I teach people who are studying to become architects. I hear they say I'm very tough, but not exactly. But I stick on issues because this is a very, very responsible profession. And if we let people come out claiming that they will learn from the field, there's nothing like that. You either perform and you deliver, and then we release you. If you don't deliver, we will keep you around. I brag with my students and I say, anyway, if you don't pass, you are here and I'm here, we shall meet next year. But anyway, it's because we want to do good stuff. Yeah, and as an architect, I'm proud to say that God has been gracious. Every architect wants a building in town, and I got that recently, and I rested my case. The mall just above you here was my work from zero. Yeah, so I'll tell you a bit as you go on in the interview. I struggled with that client, a typical business person who was just beginning to use architects the first time. So you see the building is off the road somehow. I struggled on that. She kept on saying, I have 3 shops in that space you have left. Push it forward, push it forward. But she now appreciates that when you do things properly, everybody's happy.
Wow. Come on, let's appreciate Kenneth. So, Jackie, in your career life, I wonder whether by God's grace, He has allowed you to take down some giants. It's been a long career. Just share with us one giant that you took out that today when you look back, you said, God, you are a good God. Thank you for that giant.
Wow. I will just mention one specific giant. And I think this specific giant is to do with myself. Sometimes we think that the giants are out there, but sometimes the giants are actually within us. And this specific giant is a choice of 2 good things. When you are faced with a choice of 2 good things, both of them are good. Which one is better? Which one is best? At the time I was at PwC, I was asked to join URA. At PwC, I was really looking at this career. I was looking at rising the ladder, being a tax partner. You have all the clout that is associated with being a tax partner. And one of the conditions was you must work out of the country for 2 years. And so my issue then was, where can I work? I had visited South Africa for a number of times, and my dream place was Cape Town. And so I was just like looking at that office which oversees the ocean, the Table Mountain, and I was like, wow, that's where I want to be. And so the process of actually moving into that office started. So at that time, the restructuring at URA was almost coming to an end. And when it eventually ended, now they were looking for leaders to come and actually bring transformation in the organization to take this country to the next level. And so the first person who approached me, I told them that, you know what? Even if you gave me that job for $30,000, I would not hold it with a long stick. Why? Number one, URA was at its worst at that time. Everywhere the president went, he was calling URA a den of thieves. Now, you don't want to be associated to be in the den of thieves. And so, even the employees themselves who were there, they would never actually say they were working with URA. They would say, we work with the Ministry of Finance. URA, at that time, was not performing so well. And so no one wanted to be associated with URA. Even the employers themselves. If they knew you worked with URA, you would not get a job. That's how bad it was. And so here I'm being called to go and join that kind of organization. And I'm thinking, really? No, 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 no. How? Cape Town. Here I come. And so the process began. I had several interviews, updated CVs. Meanwhile, here the issue is, person one comes, I say no. Person two comes, even buys lunch, I said no. Person three comes, I am still saying no. Person four comes and says, Jackie, really come and work with us. You can imagine through all this process, I hadn't even prayed. Because somehow I knew what God's answer would be. And so the issue was, suppose God says yes. And so anyway, I asked some people to pray with me, and indeed, all of them came with confirmation and said, you know what, Jackie, whatever it is God is telling you to do, go for it. So I updated and actually joined URA at that time. Now, where is the giant? The giant was with my self-interest, my selfishness, my comfort zone, my career, where I want to be, how I perceived myself, rather than what God wanted and how He wanted me to do it. God was looking for people who would transform the organization and therefore bring change in the nation. And for me, I was just running away from that. And so that is what I consider was one of the major giants that I faced.
Come on, that's a great testimony, because we wouldn't be having testimonies like you headed domestic tax. I remember when she was as an internal audit, that's when, you remember when sugar came, we had scarcity of sugar, and there's a giant who brought in sugar in the nation. You remember that story? I will not mention the giant's name, but the giant brought in sugar. And I remember her telling us, pray and pray. We thank God for your life, and thank you so much for choosing to slay the giant that was inside you.
Glory to God.
So, my brother, do you have any giants that you've taken down? One big giant that you've taken down in your area of architect, construction?
I think I should say that there are some giants we take down and nobody ever knows. And please, let's watch that. I finished university in 1999, and I worked with a big firm called Sentogo and Partners. 2004, when I finished my master's, when I came back, it was 2nd August, Mr. Sentogo took me to Ministry of Works and said that they are assigning the contract for the building of the new State House at Entebbe, and you're going to be the resident architect. Now, being a resident architect, most of you may know that you literally approve everything that comes on the site. So my signature met everything. There is nothing that was done. Sorry, maybe there are some security officials here. But anyway, there was nothing that was done on that building that I didn't sign off. Now, when we reached ending, somebody came and said, you guy, you are foolish. How could you run this project and you don't have even an apartment block? Your position was so juicy that for every sand and cement, you should have set a quota and say, before I sign off your doors, you raise this and put it on this account. But the Lord was gracious. And I'm very, very proud that I saved government millions of shillings on that project.
Awesome.
And the Lord is so good. When we are faithful, the Lord comes through for us. One day, His Excellency shows up before telling anybody. We just saw the soldiers take over the site, and the only person who knew was Honorable Nasser Sira. So His Excellency comes, and the convoy arrives, and Honorable Nasser Sira didn't know the building. So he said, Your Excellency, we welcome you, and we shall hand you over to the resident architect to take you around your project. Now, meeting the president the first time takes you quite an amount of time to settle. Now remember, my name is called Semogerere. At that time, he bent his head and said, "What is your name?" So I said, Semogerere. By that time, the Mulwanira Muri was the Katikiro. And then Kawanga Semogerere was the main opposition leader. So by all means, the man might have suspected that there's something going on here. But anyway, by the grace of God, I took around something. The Holy Ghost told me, nobody knows this project more than yourself. This man had better listen to you. So I took him around. I get such confidence. I took him around everywhere. And by the grace of God, I handed him over. He shook my hand and said, "Wevare, wevare." Then he went away. So the Lord is so gracious.
Wow. Wow. Come on, let's appreciate what God is doing in the lives of people. So what I want you to do is, if you have any questions that you would love us to address throughout these sessions, starting today, tomorrow, and Saturday, would love you to just get a paper. The ushers have a small piece of paper that just write it down and bring it for the ushers will pick them from you. We would love to answer some of those practical questions that you have. But one thing that stands out from these amazing people is that the truth works. The truth works. You know, I always tell people gravity is gravity. Whether you are in church or you are outside the church, when you drop the ball, what happens to it? Same thing. So I was wondering, have you guys had some giants, Jackie, that have either they have made you run away, or you said this giant took me on? If there is any, would you just share with us briefly any of those church giants? Yeah.
Well, I think in our normal course of duty, especially if you are working with an organization, especially with government, and you are dealing with many people, sometimes you get challenges. And as you get challenges, you just either stand or get compromised. And I remember at a certain time when I was heading domestic taxes department. You see, as the head of a department, you actually wield so much power that you can give an exemption one day, you can take it away, and as a head of department, it is okay. But the issue is, what does the law say in regard to that exemption? And so during the course of that period, there were quite a number of issues and different sources. It could be government officials, it could be individuals who would come to seek for exemptions. Now, what is an exemption? An exemption from tax is an entitlement for you not to pay tax on an area where you should pay tax. And these exemptions are already provided for in the law. But you see, somebody would come knowing that that exemption is not provided for in the law, but you can use your discretion as the head of the department to do what? To give it. In other words, as the head of the department, you can waive certain conditions, you can follow certain instructions without necessarily appearing that you are doing wrong, but actually, the black and white is that there's something black and there's white. There's no gray as far as the law is concerned. And so I remember when I had just joined the department, there were a number of these requests that would come through, and you would think, okay, it's being humanitarian. And you look at it and you're like, okay, I think we can take this into condition on these conditions. But you see, as I continued seeking God, as I continued learning the many areas in terms of what my role was, what my accountabilities were, and then eventually what God was calling me to do in that office. It was really to say, okay, at what point in time am I going to continue being humanitarian? At what point am I going to be considerate because this person has made this request? At what point is this going to continue? So one day as I was reading through the scriptures, God spoke to me and says, Jackie, I want you to collect only that you are supposed to collect. Okay. Only that you are supposed to collect. So in other words, make sure you collect all that you are supposed to collect. And those who are entitled to their exemptions, let them get them. Those who are entitled to certain privilege, they must have them. But those who are supposed to pay, they are going to pay in full. And so, whereas there have been a number of these requests, so suddenly, as I draw closer to God, as I get to know the whole system, the way it works, that is when I realize, you know what are my values anyway? What are my values? If my values is integrity, my values are uprightness, my values are professionalism, then these must stand. But more importantly, what does God require of me in this position? To set the standard right, but also to lead people so that they do the right thing. Because as a leader, you lead by example. What you do is what other people do. And so I remember one time when there was a request from one of the many officials in government who made a request. And I told him, I'm sorry, we cannot give that facility because it is only given to those who are compliant. And he's like, but you see, this person, you see, they are an investor, and therefore we can be able to vary some conditions. I said, no, we can't do that. And I think that is when the realization for the team around me, for the people whom I was serving, who are my superiors, began to realize that, you know what, there's a different person in this office. And so we're able to say no and no and no. I remember on one of those occasions, as the domestic taxes department, we were running so many adverts because we were trying to get word out on taxes. And so we used to have so many adverts. And I remember one person from Red Paper coming to me and saying, Jackie, we have seen your department advertising so much. We want a share of that income. Can you also advertise in our paper? And it didn't take me time to think about it. I said, no, I can't. My adverts can't appear in Red Paper. And so it's like, okay. But you see, Red Paper reaches so many people. I said, that may be the case. But if I put an advert in your paper, I am promoting promiscuity. Number 2, I am promoting pornography. Number 3, I am supporting you to bring dignity of people down, and I don't want to do that. And then try to convince me, but you haven't read the paper. It has changed. I said, I'm not going to read it, and I'm not in any way going to touch it. And so I have already given you my position. And so later, he decides, I think maybe I will go to the Commissioner General and make sure that I talk to the Commissioner General who will force me to do that. So he goes to the Commissioner General's office. It so happens that on the day he comes to see the Commissioner General, I was the acting Commissioner General. So when the secretary said that there are some people from Red Paper who want an appointment with you, I said, no, they don't need to make an appointment. You get them in the office. So the guys come in and they say, okay. When they saw me, they're like, ha. I said, I know what you want, but I'm sorry, gentlemen, I'm not going to give you that space. They're like, okay, we are going to write things about you. I said, it's okay. What things are you going to write about me? I have nothing to hide. Jesus bought my life, and so it is already gone. The only life I lead is in Jesus, and so whatever you want to write, you go ahead and write it. I've given you a blank check. Write anything. Number 1, I want to know, because I don't read the newspaper. Number 2, the people who know me won't believe you because they know me. Number 3, the day you publish my name in the newspaper, that is the day you will go under, because Jesus is my defender and you will go down. So, and so those are some of the things you face each and every day. And so, you just learn to know how to be firm and know that you are secure in who you are in God.
Thank you, Jackie. But Jackie, you have not answered my question.
Yes.
So Kenneth, have you had some giants that you've fought and they have overcome you, or you've decided to surrender, or have you had any giants that have actually gained ground and you reflect back and say, yeah, I should have done better here?
I didn't attempt. So the Commission of Inquiry of UNRWA had a back team. They had people working behind the doors and looking through the information and furnishing the justice with information on who to summon and who to talk to.
Yeah.
So they sent some 3 people to talk to me because they were recruiting that backdoor team. And we went for a meeting in a very sacred place. And I sat, Bamugemere sat here, and Kagina sat here, and I sat here. So I had we were making a strategy. This is how we're going to do it. And they were recruiting people. So I had in the meeting, and they talked a lot of things. We're going to give you security. We will know where you stay. We will try and do X, Y, Z. And the giant here I'm talking about was the fact that you're going to go and unearth very deep stuff. And then your life will be at risk. I stay those ends very far from the streetlights of Kampala. So when they told me that, one statement they made was said, however, government does not have money to give you all the security you need. So that's when I steered clear of that giant.
Well, I'm glad.
It was very difficult to tell these 2 ladies that I've backed out. And the Lord is good, because I prayed and I didn't hear any signals. So I say, that is the most important thing, guys. This country is deadly. So you better know what the heavens are saying.
Thank you. Come on, let's appreciate Kenneth. Kenneth, thank you for being honest, because it's life. We are speaking about life, where certain giants come our way, and if we are not ready, they can consume us. But we thank God that even when we have run away, His grace is still sufficient. That even in our fear, even when things seem to be not going right, God's grace is there. And there's always another chance for you to arise. And so you may be here and maybe you are like Kenneth. You have run away. Or you're thinking, today I need to sign the resignation letter. I want to remind you one thing. Even in that difficult moment, God's grace is there for you. It is sufficient. It is. So as we come to the close of this, Jackie, what would be your words of encouragement to someone who is seated here and is wondering, but this giant looks to be big. I don't think I can handle it. I think let me go back to the village and dig. That is much easier. What would be your last remarks of encouragement to such a one?
When we are facing the giants, I think even as David was facing the giant, God was with him. And I think that is the assurance that we need. That wherever we are, God is with us. Whatever we are going through, God is with us. And knowing that we are secure in who God is makes a whole big difference when we are facing the giants. Now, obviously, as I was going to head domestic taxes department, that was a huge giant. I mean, I had just been leading a department of 5 people, and now I'm going to lead a department of 750 people. I am inheriting a department that has just been merged into one from 4 departments. Now, for me, that was a huge giant. But you see, at first I was fearful facing this giant, and that is when I was all trying to back away. But later, God continued assuring me and saying, do not fear. Do not be afraid. Be courageous. I am with you. And I think that is the assurance that we need, that God is with us. And we are never alone.
That's so good. Thank you so much, Jackie. So God is with us. Be strong and courageous. What God has promised, it will come to pass. God will bring it to pass. Yes, Kenneth, share with us your last remarks in regards to the giants and how you can encourage the people here to stand.
I am not a prophet, I'm just a teacher. But after last Friday's incidents, some of us were so stirred up. We asked, like David asked Eliab, isn't there a cause? In Micah chapter 4, if you can read the whole of that chapter, I think in verse 7 it says, every man will stand in his own vine, and nobody will make them afraid. I want to tell this country that God is raising up men and women closed doors. We will do what we can do, and at the right time, the Almighty God will do what we can't do. I want to assure you that you are going to be surprised, and journalists will find it very difficult to get information about these men when they show up on the surface. They will say, who's this new prime minister? Who's this new? They will have no data. They will have to go and research and get to know that this guy, he's ready for the task. So this is my encouragement. If God is speaking to you, please prepare. We are under preparation. And anyway, not to take government, but we are under preparation. That we shall prepare ourselves, and when the hour comes for God to change this country, we shall be ready. And when we are ready, what our pastor was saying, we shall lead these people from the heart. And when we lead them from the heart, I just want to end by saying, the Lord led me in 2015 to go and do a short course on PPP, very quickly. Public-private partnership. You hear that big thing? The act has just passed. I went in, he led me to go to the US in Washington for 2 months, October and November 2015. In October, I met there Ochailap. Ochailap is the deputy to Mohakanizi. And I was very serious because we had taken our firm's money to sponsor the course. And the guy found me very brilliant. I was asking questions left, right, and center. While many government officials were having siesta, we were serious. Anyway, to cut the long story short, when we came here in January 2016, they were forming the committee called the PPP committee. He called for my CV and said, we are going to use your CV to line up whoever will be on that committee. Now, believe me, it is the Lord that took me there.
Yes.
I'm representing the academia on that committee. The chair is the ST, Secretary of Treasury. The other day we were reviewing the Kampala-Jinja Expressway. And I told myself, on this table, we had a government, a donor from one of the European countries, and he was saying, this is going to be a white elephant, let's do it one lane, we shan't give you our money because it is going to be too much for you. I said, crap, in your country, do you use one lane? Anyway, we told ourselves, we are on this table, we are representing 35 million Ugandans who can make it on this table. So we told off the fellow, good enough African Development Bank was with us. So we said, look here, the chairman made a remark and said, that is a government decision. Donors have no portion on that decision. You either work with us or you work with us. God bless you.
Wow. Come on, let's appreciate this team. Thank you. Thank you. You know, as we were speaking, God reminded me a story of Elisha and his servant. And they were surrounded by the Assyrian army. And the servant looked around and told Elisha that we are finished. There is no way we are coming out of this. I love what Elisha said. He said, Lord, open his eyes. And when the Lord opened the eyes of the servant, The scripture says that those who are for us, those who are for us are greater than those who are not for us. Listen, I want you to know that the army of Christ is for you. The army of Christ is for you. And when God is for you, there is no power in hell that can ever defeat you. No power in hell that will ever defeat you. So that's the word I want to leave for you. Come on, let's appreciate Kenneth and Jackie Opondo. Thank you. Thank you. Come on, let's give them a standing ovation. Thank you.